So I find that when I am engaged in action, or at least of appropriate action, in the sense that it is action that rectifies my current circumstances, I do not experience worry, even if those circumstances are not good ones. So suppose that I am worried, and suppose that in response to my worry, I actually begin to make the appropriate changes to my circumstances. In that case, my worry goes away, even if my circumstances are very bad ones. There are two explanations of this, two possible explanations. One is simply that when you're engaged in action, you don't have occasion to worry. It's not possible for you to worry simply because you're absorbed in something else. The other explanation is that worry is proto-action or crypto-action or pseudo-action. The second explanation is the right one. And let me explain with an analogy. A long time ago, I was very much in love. It was the first time I was really seriously in love, but I was really in love. And I was dumped, and it was enormously painful. Certain kinds of activities, no matter how intense, simply failed to get rid of the heartache. So if I played squash, which is one of my favorite activities, it actually did not get rid of the grief. I would enjoy playing squash, but I would still be heartbroken while I was playing squash, consciously heartbroken. It's just a fact. On the other hand, when I actually worked on my books and articles, for some reason, I did not feel any heartbreak at all. I was just absorbed in those activities completely. Actually, that was the one activity during which I did not feel any kind of sadness about the breakup. And what that shows is that even though an activity may be very engrossing, even though it may require a lot of energy, even though it may require a lot of physical and mental energy, it does not follow that it will siphon away the psychological resources needed to have some very profound and profuse emotion that you are having. You can still have that emotion. You will still be sad if that's what's going on, or you will still be happy if that's what's going on. And similarly, given only that somebody is worried and that they subsequently engage in some very engrossing form of action, like jogging or playing squash or chopping wood or writing a novel, perhaps, it does not follow that the worry will go away. It doesn't follow at all, in fact. And in my case, and I haven't really had too much time to confirm this experientially, as it were, but I strongly suspect that if I'm worried and I do something that is intense, but that does not do anything to change the situation that is causing me the worry will still be there. And what I can say with certainty, however, is that when I do something to change those circumstances, the worry does go away. So, what does this show? It shows that worry is kind of pseudo-action, or that it's a surrogate for action, or that it's some kind of wishful thinking that is intended to make it unnecessary to engage in the laborious changes needed to change one's circumstances. And that, presumably, is more or less at least what Confucius had in mind when he said that worry and anxiety are low emotions. There is one other relevant fact, which is that oftentimes the things one has to do to appropriately change one's circumstances, in other words, the things one must do in order to change one's circumstances in such a way that worry is no longer warranted, those things are often very hard. In fact, they're hard in two ways. Oftentimes it is hard to know what those things are, so work is actually needed in order to identify the appropriate courses of action. And once they're identified, those actions are likely to, in their turn, be difficult. So there's a kind of double laboriousness to doing the things that one must do to change one's circumstances in such a way as to eliminate the justification for one's worry. However, it is a fact that if you go through that trouble, the worry does go away. I know this because over the last couple of weeks, I've actually really begun to have some success in the way of shifting from a thinker's mode of existence into that of a doer. As you know, I was a professor and I was a thinker and so on and so forth, and I didn't really, except in a kind of Mickey Mouse trivial way, think about changing the world to my own advantage. All I wanted to do was get my paycheck and write my books. And that's how it was for a while. But then for many reasons it stopped. And then there was a kind of intermediate period after that. And then starting pretty recently, I actually began to start doing, not in a big way, but in a real way. And real little actions are infinitely more world-changing than our gigantic thoughts. And the philosophical conceit that underlies all of this can be summed up in a couple of sentences, or in one sentence actually, namely, neurotic emotions like worry and anxiety are crypto actions. Other emotions might or may not be crypto actions, but neurotic emotions, again, and neurotic affects are surrogates for action.